Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. It's,
February 7th.
7th of February. Welcome to Endorian Guitar Works Backstage. It's a guided look at life experiences and the ways and means of the guitarist journey.
I'm holding you to it every single
I was waiting for
time.
you to kind of pick that
Did
up.
you notice that the whiteboards aren't behind us anymore?
Yeah,
so
you got these
that
git fiddles instead.
Right, but it was always written up there. And I always kind of figured you might be looking in the monitor.
I'm looking up there. The back.
I guess you could look at the up there too. It's been so long since I designed that thing.
Well, I look up there, I read it.
A guided look at the life experiences and ways and means of the guitarist journey. Just ask James Hetfield. Oh, yeah!
Zang.
That's right.
What's up, Matt? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I think we had a great show 2 weeks ago. Can you believe that was 2 weeks ago?
No.
Episode 20, we had Mr. Tony Bennington in the house. Good friend of mine and a shredder. That's really all you have to say. But graduate of the Musicians Institute. And hell of a player.
Yeah, he is. If anybody's looking for a guitarist, find him. Hit him up.
We'll find him during the winter, because during the summer he's a little busy,
That's true.
riding two-wheeled death devices.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. I like a good old two-wheel death device too.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Right? Remember? Yeah.
It's true.
Do both of them.
I
accelerate with both hands. That's right.
We have any housekeeping items, or are we just diving into this new segment?
I don't know if we really have any housekeeping items. I know tonight I'm having me a little kiss of whiskey.
Little kiss of whiskey. That's true.
Oh, you got a little snifter of wine there.
Yeah, it just looked good. Nothing else sounded good. So
yeah,
I'm regretting the choice. Meh.
It's kind of been a day.
It's been a day. It's been busy. Lots of good stuff, lots of weird stuff. I mean, even in your dream job, there's still frustrating days where it's not any one thing that makes it frustrating, because you got to be grateful that you're doing stuff that you love, but you also have to sit there and go why am I not making progress?
There are days though when you feel a little destructive, right? So there was one of those days a couple days ago. You took what looked like what I thought might be a Martin.
Bones, what's up, my friend Chris?
What up, Chris? Good to see you, brother.
Kalela. Okay,
yeah.
So it's not the
high school buddy. He and I were in a band called Nutsack together for a period. Yeah, that's right.
I remember the Nutsack.
Yeah, Tap the Nutsack.
Were they before or after Yasmin?
They were before. That was the first band. I played trombone and I sang Big Balls. Yeah, we were called Nutsack, and we played Big Balls. Get over it.
Definitely don't get under it.
No. or in front of it.
So yeah, there was a guitar. There was a guitar that came into my possession. I guess a couple years ago. My buddy Kyle was cleaning out his barn, or his dad's, or his dad's barn. I don't remember which.
The good old barn find, right?
And he said, "Would you like this guitar?" And I said, "Sure." And it's a Sigma. Which I think is important, because I didn't realize, well, later on, we'll get to why that's important. Remind me, because I won't remember. Sigma. It's not a Martin.
It looked like a Martin. Like the what I could tell from the logo from a distance, it looked almost like a Martin.
Yeah.
Logo. So
that's true. It had like the same font.
So I was a little worried, because the next thing I knew, there was an axe coming down on the damn thing, and it was in the fire. So
buried the lead. Yeah. So, I had been contemplating doing this Kurt Cobain tribute guitar, which we've sort of featured before, not on the show, but on the Instagram page.
We talked about it a little bit.
And I hadn't dove into that project yet, but I was waiting for the right guitar to come around, and my buddy says, "Here, I have this free guitar for you." And I said, "Well, that's a great guitar to do a project on." And as I was test driving the guitar, I found out that because it had lived in a barn for 25 years, its neck had twisted badly. Could I use it as a practice guitar for repairs and stuff? Sure. But ultimately, this is it was $100 guitar when it was new, and after 15 hours of labor on it, you might be able to turn it into a $50 guitar. So it had been hanging back in that corner for some time, trying to figure out what to do with it. And I felt bad, so I had reached out to Kyle and I had said, I just don't know that this is going to be a project. And he said, oh no, do whatever the hell you want with it. I don't care. I just don't need it. Like, smash it, burn it. Like,
Yeah.
do whatever the hell you want with it.
So you were cold, and you threw it.
Yeah, so I kept it for about a year and a half, and then I don't remember what it was going on the other day, but it just felt like it was time. I think that, you know what it was, to get off topic completely, is that we were burning a fire because it was a cold day, and we had just gotten a new load of firewood, which happened to be pretty wet, actually. So now we've been having trouble, like, starting our fires. And I just thought that, maybe it was time to burn some really thin timber that was coated in urethane. I thought that might just...
Why not?
Why not? Because that would make the fire burn green, actually.
Funny color.
Green is the
Urethane
adjective.
burns green. Okay.
Yeah, well, green and pink and white.
Chemicals burning off.
It burned hot. It burned so hot that while I was tossing bits of the guitar after I smashed it with a hatchet into the fireplace, my kids were like, ooh, lightning bugs.
Oh.
And I looked outside the window.
No.
And it had come up out of the stack. And little twinkles were actually coming out of the stack and landing in the very wet backyard.
Well, at least it was wet. Yeah.
You could set off the motion alarm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes. It's a good thing you don't got creosote in that chimney.
Yeah.
Start a chimney fire.
Meh. Meh.
So, I mean, the moral of the story is sometimes you
smash
just
a
gotta break
guitar.
things.
Sometimes you just have to smash a guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had never smashed a guitar before. I've been playing guitar for the better part of 27 years.
Yeah. I honestly would have expected more of a rock star style, like hatchet.
The kids
Using it as a hatchet.
The kids
instead.
were in bed, and I just felt bad for like trying to make so much noise. But
Yeah.
I was also excited to free up wall space, so I smashed it with a hatchet.
That happens.
And burned it and put it on the social media channels, and man, people got the feelings. They caught feelings over this guitar.
Well, when you do, as you do,
Yeah.
Destroy a guitar, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well, there's lots of feelings that come out. I mean, put yourself in that position. When you see somebody destroying a guitar, you're either like, whoa, that's really cool, or why would you do that? Or fuck you, man. You could give that to a school.
right.
And I just want to go on record that this guitar was doing no one any favors. The best thing that you could do with this guitar was either like practice pulling frets out or smashing it. So I went with that.
So smashy.
Smashy.
There it is. Well, you've been busy though.
I have.
You've been staying real busy. You got the business is up and running. I think this is kind of what tonight is going to be about. We're kind of laid back.
Yeah, let's talk about the structure, and then we'll dive into that, because the idea is, so we started this podcast. We talked about starting it years ago. Pandemic hit, didn't do it, and then we finally pulled the trigger on it like 2 weeks after we went to go see Slash and Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators.
Right.
So last February of 2022 is when we launched this thing. And quite honestly, that was just like one piece of the Andorian Guitar Works portfolio, which was repairs. I hadn't even started doing custom builds yet. It was like repairs, lessons, and podcast. And we weren't really sure where the interest was going to lie. We were going to let the demand determine the interest and then kind of go from there.
Right.
And I kind of feel like blessed is the wrong word, because when you say blessed, it has certain connotations, because we've also worked our ass off. But there's a lot of interest, and we've had a lot of interviews and bands come onto this show. And I realized that what we were doing, we also wanted to provide other value. Like sometimes we'll put a guitar out here on the table. You probably saw that with the Stratocaster. We talked about Strat wiring that one day. And then we would live stream a band, or we would do an interview, or this or that, or this or that.
Which we've done a lot more of that than we first intended on doing.
Which is the point, because what we were doing is we were stacking up almost every episode with an interview, which is fantastic because we love that people are interested.
And there's a lot of great people that want to be on the show, want to talk to us and want to share their tunes with not only us but you.
But we were finding ourselves short on the content for what do we do on the off weeks. And so just kind of putting all the cards on the table, what we want to do is do an interview or a live band once a month ish. And then have the other week be, maybe it's a live repair, or maybe, you know, maybe it's an emergency fill. Maybe somebody wants to be on the show, but they can only do it on a certain day, so we can just put you in.
Maybe it's us grabbing a friend off the street and say, hey, just hang out with us for a little while. Let's have a beer.
But we don't always have a guitar that's in a house that needs a repair.
Right.
And we don't always have an interview, and we don't always have an emergency fill. So I just got to thinking, I was like, what can we bring on those off days if there's nothing that's so incredibly important to talk about right now, and there's just really nothing scheduled? What can we do? And so I said, Brian, what if we did a segment called, and it's kind of a weird name, but I called it Service Witness and Stage Fitness. And the idea behind that being like witnessing, not like in a religious way, but like this is the, like, what we see, or what I see in the shop
on the repair
when it comes in for service, and what do we do to make it fit for the stage or performance or playing in your bedroom or whatever it is.
I think it's important to point out too, if you're going to bring a guitar to Matt to work on.
That's me.
This is Matt, by the way.
I'm Brian. I'm Brian.
You're Matt.
Today.
I'm Brian.
Because it's the third Thursday of the second moon. Stop. There it is. We shut up. We broke him. We hit the off switch. I'm Matt.
Matt, I'm Brian. If you're going to bring a guitar to Matt to get fixed, it's not going to leave his house. Not going to leave his hands until he's secure enough in it, being prepared to play. Like something that he would play on the stage.
It's true. Even when I take a restroom break, it comes with me.
Yep. So, and he's dedicated, and he's going to get your guitars fixed up right. And that's part of what, even on the toilet, that's part of what this.
That's the whole
episode,
point. That's
the point of this episode's about. And we're hoping to show you more of these segments and episodes, whether they be portions within other episodes where we have interviews and live performances, or if it's the entire episode. This is kind of the update on what he's doing, what's going on, what kind of things he's been seeing lately. You let us know. Like if it's so incredibly interesting that you want to see a whole segment on it, great, we'll do that. Yeah. If you just want to see like what's the worst of the worst or the best of the best, we'll do a quick little like beat Migs on 99.9 each Monday morning. And of course, as always, just like Chris did earlier, chime in, add a comment, add a question. We will try to catch it as quickly as we can and let fly. Yeah. So today we're going to feature a couple guitars. And I think we want to start with, let's start with the Jackson. We'll start with the Jackson. So about 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, I had a customer, and I haven't cleared this with him. So, we're just going to, none of this is our customer's fault. And that is 100% true. This guitar, and this segment is not about shaming anyone, right? This is, you might have an interest in repairing guitars yourself and find that you get in over your head, or you might buy a used guitar and it comes to you in a certain condition, or you might buy a new guitar and it comes off, off off the rack. I just hate the phrase off the rack, but it comes off the guitar rack. And, you thought you were ready to purchase it, but you get it home and it's just like, this isn't right. It doesn't feel like it's there yet. Sometimes that factory work is just not quite up to snuff to where. None of this is about shaming anybody. But the fact of the matter is, when you run a repair shop, stuff comes onto your desk, and some of it's just par for the course, and you just do it and ship it. And some of it, it's like, you charge, your flat rate on the service is an hour and a half time, but you spend all day on it. And, it's kind of wild like that sometimes. Yeah. So this segment is meant to be like talking about crazy stories and crazy work that you see come into the shop and talking about it. And it's also an opportunity for you to say, hey, you know what? I saw this. Talk to us about it. We'll feature it on the show. Yeah. So this Jackson was a custom shop. It's a custom Jackson
that one of my customers ordered off of Reverb.com, and it came with a few problems. And I don't think he knew about any of the problems when it ended up at his house. So,
well, I mean, you're buying something online, right? You're not able to tactily check it out.
So, and that is all, that there's lots of issues when you're buying something from online, and it's not necessarily just you didn't get to play it. It might, if this is a guitar that's shipped from Florida and ends up in Alaska.
Yeah, the weather
you have like big climate and temperature concerns too, right? Okay. So this Jackson was ordered off Reverb by my customer. It showed up at my customer's house, and he's super excited. And he opens up he opens the shipping box after 2 days of letting it climatize in his house, and then he waits another day before he opens the hard case to make sure that it's acclimated to the weather and the humidity as best it can before you open it, so you don't crack anything. Some people say this might be overkill. Other people say, well, that's really important with acoustic guitars, but not necessarily with solid body electrics. But it's 100% something I subscribe to. If I order any parts that are going onto my guitar, or I order a guitar, like I bring that shipping box into the house, and then after like a day or two, I take it out of the shipping material, but I don't open the case. And I give it another day before I open that.
Well, I think I would just bust it all open because I have no patience.
Yeah, and like if you have it's true, but it's true. But like if you've picked up a guitar with like a nitrocellulose lacquer on it, and when it gets shipped from a cold climate and you bring it into your nice warm house at 72 degrees, and you're looking at that like vintage Strat, and all of a sudden it goes, pfft, which happens. There's a reason anyway. So this Jackson comes out, and the guy puts it in his lap, and he gets excited to play it, and he goes down to strike a chord. Buzz.
Yikes.
Can't make any clean noises. It just buzzes. So he did the best he could. He took a look at the action at the bridge. He took a look at the action at the nut.
And for those that are newer in guitar,
sure.
I want to explain the action.
Right. So here you've got the nut is up here.
Yes, you got to let those metal bridges acclimate, Brad. That's exactly what we were talking about.
And you've got the bridge down here and the bridge saddles. And this is going to look different depending on what kind of guitar you have. But when we talk about the nut, we're talking about the piece that's at the top of the neck. And when we talk about the bridge or the saddles, we're talking about this piece down here on the body. We're not going to get into like tolerances or anything at this point, but basically, as you start to develop your feel, you'll be able to tell like if something is ridiculously out of spec. And nothing was ridiculously out of spec, so he should be able to come down here and play an open E chord.
Let that shit ring.
And be able to have it ring.
But it
buzzed. And so he took a look at the relief, and for anyone who hasn't done that, so when you look at a guitar neck like this, if you ever see somebody in a guitar store doing this,
they're checking out the relief.
Most of the time they don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But if they do know what they're doing is they're also checking out, so the neck is not supposed to be perfectly straight. The neck is supposed to be perfectly straight while you're manufacturing it, but when you put tension across the front of the neck with the strings, you're going to put a slight bow on the neck, which is why it has a truss rod, which allows you to counteract that tension,
and that's
right?
Down the middle of the inside. You can't see
there
that.
should be some relief. And what that means is, and I'm exaggerating here, but where the strings go straight between A and B, the strings go between the nut and the saddle, straight line between A and B, the neck should have a bow to it, like so.
So the closest parts the string is to the neck would be at the nut.
Because because if you look at a wavelength, when you pluck the string doesn't just stay straight, it vibrates, right? And if you look at the form of a wavelength, that string has to have somewhere to go.
Right.
So the way you check for, the 80,000 foot version of looking for neck relief is you fret at the highest point and the lowest point, and then you look at the midpoint, but the gap between the string and the fret at the midpoint of that of the neck. Mm-hmm. And if you can fit a business card between there, rule of thumb, you're good. If it's more than that, you tighten the truss rod to bring that relief closer into spec. If it's
too tight,
you go the other direction. This guitar had negative relief. It had nothing. Mm. So this guy, what he had done is, as many people would, he put a couple turns on the truss rod to see if it made a difference, and it didn't. And then what he did is he actually loosened up the strings and pulled the nut and shimmed it and put the nut back, and it still didn't make a difference. And not only did it not make a difference, but now he had an extra problem because the nut is now so high that the action at the nut is too tall. So now when you press down on the string, you're stretching the string more than it should, and now the pitch goes sharp. So now you can't even play the guitar in tune. Yeah. So, and then this guitar, boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. We're going to pop into here and take a look at this particular guitar. And if you take a look here where you can see the frets, this is at the 12th fret. You can see what's going on. I'm going to point here at the camera, right? But what you can see is where those frets come over the binding at the edge. What has happened is that there's actually cracked clear coat underneath the frets.
You can kind of see it should be black, and you're seeing these little half moons.
And so, there's lots of things that can cause this. It could have been somebody could have replaced the frets and gotten too aggressive there. Mm-hmm. It could have been a factory defect.
Like Brad's saying, at least the fretboard
didn't pop. Seen that before. Yeah, the fretboard can pop too. But in this case, and let's wait for the YouTube delay, he's going to see this picture, and he knows exactly what happened here, because what I think happened is that because that negative relief was put into it, effectively what you had is you had the clear coat and the binding coming up while the frets were in position. And what ended up happening here is that the frets were impacting the clear coat harder than it should have, and it cracked the clear coat under the frets where they sit at the binding. So my customer's got this really awesome Jackson. It's not playable. It's got cracked clear coat on the binding. He's jacked the nut up as high as it can go. He can't do anything. And it comes to me. And honestly, this was just, I took a look at it, and this was, in my opinion, this was a serviceable guitar that was just slightly out of the comfort zone of somebody who wasn't familiar with adjusting the guitar. Right. And he didn't make any of these adjustments. It came to him like this. But that's where we went. I went and I slowly loosened the truss rod and watched the relief every step of the way. And as we started, 4-5 turns, we started to watch this finally fall into spec, to where when we push down on the 1 and the 24, we can actually start to see that 0.002 of an inch appear between the string and the 12th fret. And at that point, now we can unshim the nut and bring the nut back into where that's supposed to be.
Right.
And then we set it up for whatever gauge string we want. So that's the thing. A truss rod will need to be adjusted based on your temperature, based on how heavy a strings you put on it, right? So if you put a set of 52 to 13 weight strings on it, it's going to put more tension across the front than if you're doing a set of 9s to 42s. So that truss rod is there for a reason, to be able to keep that guitar neck in spec regardless of what kind of tension you're putting across the front of it. So we were able to deliver this Jackson back to the customer, set up for the strings that was set to play on it, and put the nut back into spec, and give him a custom shop Jackson that absolutely shreds.
Nice.
But it's really
he had shimmed up the nut again just to
he did
give him the space so that he could try to actually get
he did what he could within what his comfort level was, based on how this guitar was delivered to him, and actually when he gave it to me, he said, I think I just get it playable if you can, so I can put it back onto reverb. This thing's not worth my time. And now pretty sure he's playing it on the regular. So
I hope so.
yeah, no, I was really thrilled to be able to give that guitar back to somebody who's going to be able to play it.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it was kind of wild because it didn't have to be that way. You know, this was somebody decided to crank that truss rod down as tight as they could possibly make it and then ship it across the country.
Yeah. Yeah, the kind of wood that's in the neck will also have some kind of a variability there too, right?
Some, but not as much as you might think. Right. I mean, there's an infinite number of woods. It's a maple neck. It's not here anymore. I'm pointing at my ESP, but it's a maple neck with a rosewood fretboard, and it's a standard combination. But there are guitars that don't have truss rods, right?
Right. Yeah, we were kind of talking about this earlier, so explain that.
So you'll see truss rods in steel string guitars because steel carries a lot of tension when you pull it up to pitch. And what you're asking that guitar to do, what you're asking that piece of wood to do, is to stay there and support. And I don't remember what it is, but it's like each string has a certain number of pounds, and it ranges from like 20 to 13 times 6, right? So you've got this piece of wood that's constantly got somewhere between the upper 90s to 120, 130 pounds pulling down on it nonstop. It's hanging on your wall, 130 pounds. It's like your kid not ever letting go of the monkey bars, right?
Right.
So that what that truss rod is it sits down there and offers that extra support as a piece of metal to that wood in the neck, so that it doesn't over time, overextend, overbend, and offers that counter support to it. But you have classical guitars, and these guitars back in the day were made of gut, right? And now they're made of nylon, and that doesn't have nearly the amount of potential tension on it, right? So when you string up a 6-string guitar with nylon, it doesn't have nearly the same overall tension across the front, so it doesn't need a truss rod. And then also you'll find steel string guitars that don't have truss rods either. Like there's some parlor guitars, and the deal. So backing up a little bit, what affects pitch is you have length and tension, right? So, which is why we talk about
this is the physics of the guitar.
This is the physics of the guitar, right? So obviously, I don't think I need to grab a guitar to show you this, but when you play a string and you increase the tension by turning the turning knob, the pitch goes up, right? And if you don't play with that, but you play a string and you shorten the length, the pitch goes up, right? That's why we have frets. Okay.
And that's why they're at specific intervals. It gets smaller.
Right. That's why so the longer the length, here, I can just count that's what she said jokes coming in right here, right? Yeah. But the longer the length,
especially since we were talking about nutsacks earlier.
Yep. The more tension is needed. The shorter the scale length, the less tension, right? So a Stratocaster at 25.5 inches scale length from nut to bridge will have more tension in standard E tuning than a Les Paul, which is 24 3/4 inches. It's slightly shorter, which means it doesn't need as much tension to bring those strings up to pitch. So parlor guitars are even shorter.
Right.
And so when you pull those up to pitch, they have even less tension. So if you see shorter acoustics, they might not have a truss rod in it.
Because a shorter neck will have less tension on the nut.
A shorter neck, well, sure. It's not actually tension on the nut.
Well, I know, but I had to.
Brad's going to keep me honest here. I appreciate
just
innuendo.
Innuendo?
Yeah. Where was I going with that?
Parlor guitars.
Tension.
Do not have truss rod.
Deep.
Don't need a truss rod.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
We're good with that.
I think we covered it.
I think that's what I was going to do. Anyway, so that poor Jackson, it to me, it sort of felt like what happened is that somebody, here's my best case idea of what happened with this guitar that doesn't involve somebody just being a dick. This Jackson came from somebody who played heavy strings. Mm-hmm. And they put it on reverb because they wanted to sell their guitar. And they wanted to make it playable for what the average person would do.
Right.
So they took off their set of 12s or 13s.
Put on their 9s.
They put on a set of 9s.
Yeah.
And they shipped it. It went through temperature changes going across the country.
Plus didn't have quite the tension
Have the tension on it.
Yeah.
Ended up in the hands of a new player. And disappointment ensues. That's my hypothesis.
Sabu, yo, what's up?
What's up, Sabu? He will be our guest on April 4th.
That is true.
For this show.
So that's not our... Is that our next show?
No, our next show is February 22nd. It's not April yet, dude. It's barely February.
That's true.
It's true. God. We have... we'll get into the next show. We have Paul Kobylinski.
That's right. Yeah.
Paul coming up. And then we have Steve Lynch from Autograph.
Woohoo!
And we have Sabu, and we have Red X from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
So
that is
nice
the
lineup.
That is the Jackson crisis. Yeah. That is the Jackson crisis for service witness and stage fitness.
Well, and I mean it definitely goes to show the how working with guitars can be just a matter of millimeters and
or less
fractions of inches, and sometimes you can't even tell what's going on with it until you really.
It's true.
Get down to the microscopic almost, right?
Yeah.
So
which is like a perfect segue to the next one.
That's true. Okay. Yeah. So
unless are we still talking about fret or neck tension and what do you?
No. I was gonna remind our viewers of those watching live, if you have a story of any guitar.
If you have a story.
It's not that kind of story. This is not that kind of show.
It might be.
It doesn't have to be.
It could be.
If you have a nightmare story about a guitar,
the nightmare.
I think we need a nap. I think we're both getting a little loopy here.
It's been a day.
Put it up in the comments and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But I know you recently had another guitar incident.
Well, yeah, and I feel bad calling it an incident. So this is fun.
It was pretty wild. If you follow the TikTok,
follow
the
TikTok.
Instagram, you would have seen it today, or the Facebook. I think it was on all three social sites.
So, yeah. So I'll get through the awkward part first because I just felt bad for the dude. New customer came in and dropped off a couple guitars, and they needed to be wired up from scratch and have new pickups put in, and we handled it. Everything was good. Mm-hmm. They're not even here anymore. Delivered back to the customer. And what I did, and this is like a really good moment for me to kind of, evaluate how I do my thing. Because one, I'm working with customers, and two, I'm like working the social media too. And I have to remember that the audience isn't the same. Mm-hmm. So I had a problem with one of my customers' guitars. And then I went and I created social media content around it. And poor dude saw the video.
Oh.
And was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, not your fault.
This is not you, bro. It's
different audience. The people that like working on guitars appreciate this. I had said like, man, check out this bullshit. And he's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, no.
That's not how we meant it.
You didn't make
That's
it.
Not how we meant
this
it.
Isn't you. This is like a guitar technician pulling his hair out. It's already gone. But it's like we see these bugs, we see these ghosts, we see these gremlins every single time. Some are worse, some are better. But they put bread on our table, and we're happy to do the job. But at the same time, we also like to, show the other people that we're working with, like, look at this weird thing that I saw. So he showed.
In other words, check out this bullshit.
Yeah, check out this bullshit. He shows up to the house, picks up his guitar. He's like, I felt better when you talked to me. I'm like, I'm sorry, I should have talked to you first because this is not your deal. Yeah. But anyway, so I was working on his Telecaster, and we had ghosts in the Telecaster.
Not like if you have ghosts.
Right.
Not like
right.
That, right.
So I have video of the Telecaster. If you haven't already seen the YouTubes. Oh man, this is where people say, "Oh, you should do better." Bullshit that happens when you're wiring. I just put new pickups in. I'm tap testing. Right? So you can see the kind of bullshit that happens when you're wiring. I just put new pickups in. I'm tap testing. The tone is up. The volume is up. Neck pickup. Treble.
You hear the thunk, but you hear the high end. Now I'm just going to screw this screw in the
Tap
plate.
testing is something that we do before we put the strings on, just to make sure the pickups are working.
Right.
Okay, still the neck pickup. Tone is still all the way up. Volume is still all the way up. Now listen.
Crazy.
The treble is completely rolled off. All I did was take out a screw.
Bongo.
Tap, tap, tap. There's no ground here. It's going into wood. Put the pressure over here. Same thing. There's nothing going. It's a ghost. So I'm going to try to troubleshoot this.
A ghost.
So you had to chase that.
Yeah, I went and chased that. And so, that's good social media. What? Oh,
Make us bigger.
what's that?
Make
us bigger now. Yeah, we don't have anything else to talk about.
There we go. Stage
So
directing
I put that out. Now, that was just, when you start trying to put social media into your business, it's just like, what's good and what's not. That thing had been out for 4 hours and it hit, I think there's 4,000 views on TikTok by the last time I checked. And arguments have already been started.
Oh yeah. You're doing something right when people are arguing.
Yeah, some
throw shade.
douchebag said that I'm a 6-year-old, and like, okay, cool.
So other people came to your defense.
So other people came to my defense. I'm like, oh, cool. I wasn't even going to engage the guy, but thank you, I appreciate it.
And by the way, Sabu said that the Les Paul has been inspiring him to play some classic rock riffs again. So nice.
We're gonna get back to that.
Awesome.
Yes.
So anyway, So following this.
So here's the deal. Like, if something is intermittent like that, it's like there's a short somewhere. Mm-hmm. Something is completing a circuit in one moment and not completing a circuit in another moment. And that's causing, I didn't show everything on that video because I wanted to keep it under a minute. But basically what was happening is that the tone knob had full functionality. But when I put the plate in, it would act like it was completely rolled down, even when it was rolled up and there was no functionality through the range of the tone pot.
Right. So,
yes, I absolutely spent a great deal of time with the plate pulled over, inspecting every solder connection that I made in, from the 3-way switch, the 2 pickups into the 3-way switch, the connection into the volume, across the capacitor into the tone pot and the grounds and everything. And there were no dirty connections. There was nothing that was loose. Everything was cool. People said, well, maybe the plate is flexing to a degree. And honestly, I believe that has to be true. The plate had good contact on the guitar, but you put, a little bit of pressure on it with the screw and it flexes a little. I mean, it's a physical world. Something is changing. But so this is where you follow what you know about, electrical theory and electrical engineering. And if something is going from tone all the way up to tone all the way down, what that means is you have to understand what's happening in the tone circuit. And what you have on a potentiometer, when you say your pot, right? When you look at the top of a guitar, you have a knob, and that knob is connected to a shaft, and in there's a potentiometer. It has 3 lugs on it. And the tone circuit is a parallel circuit off the volume circuit, so that it's taking input, and there's 3 lugs. There's an input, and on the inside the pot, there's a material. And the center lug, when you turn it, there's this thing called a wiper. And it goes across from the start of that wiper all the way to the end of that wiper. And then there's there's a third lug. So the middle lug is connected to the wiper. The first lug is connected to the beginning of that material. And the last lug is connected to the end of that material.
So basically it's picking up where the wiper is in the course.
Right. And so as you adjust that, you get a certain amount of electrical current that is sent to wherever you send it. And in a tone circuit, you're using a capacitor to not send all of the signal to ground, but part of the signal, which is the upper range of the wavelength, which is the treble. Okay. So what you're doing in a tone circuit is you're just like at the bottom end of the tone circuit, what you're doing is you're sending most to all of the high frequencies to ground. So they don't come through the live wire into the amp. So it's your tone is a volume knob
on the high end
for the high frequency. Okay. So in order for that to go from 0 to 10 without doing anything means that there's not a short on the outside of the potentiometer. There's a short on the inside.
And these things are,
yeah,
the size of my thumb, right?
Yeah.
A little bit bigger.
And they're not really worth trouble. Like, I've troubleshot a pot before if I don't have any on me. And honestly, if it's my guitar.
Right. You can do that with something
This was
else.
just like, it was just easier to pull the thing and put a new part in.
And once you did, of course, that got rid of the problem.
It got rid of the problem immediately.
So that's
But
the
it was
best way to
weird
find
because
out.
it's like sometimes there's always going to be a point in time where you're working on something and you have the problem for the first time.
Right.
I've been soldering guitars for God knows how long, and this has never happened before. Well, wait till the next time.
Yeah. Now it's going to happen
And it'll happen again.
again and again.
But yeah, I sat there taking this video and putting it on YouTube and Instagram and Instagram. I almost said Faceagram. I like Faceagram. Let's do
Faceagram
that.
and Instabook.
All right, Zuckerberg, Faceagram. But it's like I'm gonna.
Isn't
put
that kind of what it is? They
it
both
is.
are the same company.
I'm gonna screw it down, and now there's no treble. And I'm gonna take the screw out, and now there's treble.
Yeah, that would be kind of awkward to have to do on stage.
Yeah, one guy on TikTok, it was fantastic. He said, "I like the way it sounds with the screw out." Yes,
That guy.
that guy. So that was number 2. That was the second contender for stage witness or service witness and stage fitness.
That's good. I mean, that's and of course by taking out that pot, putting in a new one,
Yeah,
it all works. So obviously it's within that pot. You got
Yeah.
it working. You got it to the customer.
got it to the customer.
He was very happy. I assume.
It was funny, because he had 2 guitars that came to me. One
Right.
was wiring up a Telecaster, and one was wiring up it's a custom guitar, but effectively like a Black Beauty, a three humbucker Les Paul.
It was very interesting and beautiful cut.
Beautiful. Go check out Instagram.
color,
I posted it today. It's brown, 3 pickups. Can't miss
Interesting
it.
cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgeous guitar. But I opted to do that one last because I wanted to get the easy one out of the way.
Yeah.
Oh, it took
Then you
like
start chasing ghosts.
it was like 2 to 3 hours to chase ghosts. Yeah. Whatever. But he got it back. He was happy. Sounds great.
There you go.
And that's why we do this.
Yeah.
So that he can, whether he, sits at home and records or plays recreationally, plays for himself at home, gigs.
Yeah.
Like the idea is that any one of my customers should be able to take their instrument and not have to worry about it.
Right.
Do whatever you want to do. Don't crank the truss rod all the way down. But but when you're on stage, when you're in the recording studio, when your family comes over for Easter dinner and they say, "Sweetie, play us a song," you shouldn't have to worry about whether or not it's going to work.
Right.
And that's
Or if you're up on stage, shredding away in front of a crowd, it's not just going to start farting on you.
Yeah.
Like a dip on that snare drum.
Yeah.
That's a movie reference.
Yep.
That's what I do.
So yeah.
Well, from my point of view, I think it's going to be great to have a guitar tech in the band again.
The
So
band.
that's a little transition there. See how
The
smooth
band.
that
Check
was.
out that segue.
That was smooth. Okay, I don't care who you are.
Smooth.
So yeah, a little update. We are finally getting Gunslinger together. We have dates to start getting some rehearsals and potential shows, so keep an eye out.
Is there some place that people can go to listen to Gunslinger music right
There
now?
is Gunslinger Oli on Facebook.
Gunslinger Oli on Facebook.
You can find all the links and whatnot. We may not always be timely in getting CDs out. You can definitely buy the digital copy and have it right now if you go onto our Bandcamp page of our first album, which is 6 years ago. It's been a while.
What? 6? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah. 9? No.
9.
Has it really been?
2014.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I guess it's been 7 years since we played together.
A bit.
6.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Jesus. Time flies when you're not having fun.
Give him an alien hand, everybody.
Yay. Take my strong hand.
My strong hand.
So we'll have more details on potential show coming up.
Yeah.
And all that. There's definitely some good stuff in the works. We are changing up the format a little bit. We're gonna, since Matt's coming back into the band, but no longer playing bass. He's gonna do what.
Does that mean I can get rid of my bass again?
If you want to.
No.
He's gonna be doing what he's meant to do. He's gonna play guitar.
I'll be sitting on the stage, restringing guitars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be playing our guitars. So yeah, we're gonna have 3 guitars. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of Iron Maiden-esque, and obviously we're definitely influenced by that. So, yeah, look forward to having some good rock and rolls. Our friend Zach, who formerly played in Skeletor, will be taking up the bass strings for us. Otherwise, myself, Jim, and Simon, the original members, are coming back. So, yeah,
I believe what the first rehearsal is March 5th
or something.
5th, yeah, Sunday, March 5th.
Yeah, after we get back from celebrating my son's 20th birthday.
Yep, and my kid's
Jesus Christ.
5th birthday, 5th on the 4th. He's really on the 9th, but his birthday party's on the 4th. So let's just tell the world, come out and go do gymnastics with us. It'll be fun.
Sweet. I want to be in Seattle.
I want to get back to Sabu here. Les Paul has been inspiring him to play classic rock riffs again. So,
tell the rest of everybody else about kind of what you did. You're such a
I'm not worried
guy.
about what I did, but
but it's important. You're
he's a good dude. We met him down at Rhythms Coffee in Olympia, so on 4th Avenue down in downtown Olympia. It's a very small coffee shop which caters 100% to musicians and artists, mainly musicians.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool
but
vibe.
It's like there's never an off limits time to play music down there. Like they absolutely have formal and scheduled music events, but if there's not a formal and scheduled music event, you can just go down there and play music. You show up to coffee, bring your guitar, play, or play on the piano that's over there. They do an open mic every Monday. For a while, they might still be doing it. I don't know, but they did an open poetry mic every Tuesday night, and then throughout the rest of the week they have artists booked all week long. This last Friday they did a 90s night.
So Friday was Saturday.
Saturday. So last Saturday they did a 90s rock night, and they put together various groups doing various songs in the 90s. It was really cool. And I happened to be chatting with him, and he was like, yeah, I'm hoping that I can find a guitar that has a kill switch or something, because I want to do the solo to Bulls on Parade. And I was like, I got a Les Paul hanging on the wall and I'm not using it tonight. I got date night with my wife. You want it? And he's like, because with a Les Paul, with their wiring circuit, you turn one pickup on, turn one pickup off, and use the 3-way switch and use a kill switch. You get this really cool effect. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, man, I give a shit. I'm all about helping musicians. I'm going to be at the bar right next to Rhythms Coffee, so I'll bring the guitar with me and I'll drop it off to you. And they went and played and had a good time. So nice. I'm just glad he could have fun.
You should have pointed him down to Fleshwork Tattoos.
Well, they were closed. Yeah, there's a guitar down at Fleshworks Tattoo right now. That's the zombie guitar.
It does actually have.
Put a kill switch in that one. So, yeah, good times. What time is it?
It's good to go out and see music live.
It is good to go out and see music. I have no idea what time it is.
We've got
10 minutes.
We're 50 minutes in. If anybody else has anything they want to chat about, go ahead and leave us a question, comment in the live chat.
So stuff coming up next. Yeah. We do have Paul Kobolensky in 2 weeks. February 21st, we have Paul Kobolensky, who is the owner and copywriter and sole proprietor at thenewrockstar.net.
And luckily, a great friend of yours as well.
Great friend of mine. My God, it's going to be like the man's side of my wedding.
Pretty much.
Because you married us, and he was my best man.
Yep.
So, Not that there's like nepotism in this show or anything, but no, I just happen to be closely knit with a lot of musicians. So,
yeah.
But Paul, I'm super proud of Paul. We did go to college together, and he did start his career off working at Guitar Center, and then just went up from there. Went from Guitar Center to working at Sweetwater, to copywriting and working for another firm, to doing freelance copywriting, and he's getting picked up by Premier Guitar and Guitar World all the time now. Just interviewed Alter Bridge with Mark Tremonti and I was gonna say Miles Kennedy.
Miles Davis.
He's just absolutely just paving his own road, and I'm super proud of the guy.
That's gonna be a really fun conversation.
I'm excited for that conversation with Paul.
And then after Paul,
I believe the next one after that is Steve Lynch,
the one and
only Steve Lynch, formerly of Autograph, Turn Up the Radio, and more. We have Sabu, and we have a band out of Indiana called Redix in April as well.
You know, we're not just keeping it local, although we have some great local artists on here.
Well, it's cool because we built this show with the idea that the whole reason we remote in guests is because we started it in the pandemic. I don't even want to talk about that anymore. But the idea was that if you were not able, if you were not comfortable in sitting down and doing an interview, cool, we'll make it happen anyway. 2, you can't see our whole room down here, but it's really not set up to bring in a full band. So we wanted to be able to let bands remote in and send their video and Zoom video and audio connection to us. Because frankly, during the pandemic, bands that were playing learned how to do that, and they were already set up to do it. We just had to receive their signal. And then to be able to talk with people that are across the country or across the world. And so now it's like everyone has a choice. We can get out to people that are further away, but it is also fun to have them in-house.
The in-house is definitely fun. I like the trying to keep it somewhat local.
Yeah.
You know, Steve Lynch is a Seattle guy.
Seattle guy. He's in Florida and New Jersey now.
But he's originally from the area, or at least when he was younger, spent quite a bit of time here. And so
he had his own guitar school set up in Federal Way for a while.
So, you know, that's having those connections is cool. You know, we've had Tony Reed from Moss Generator and Heavy Head Studios and Music Abuse Records, and like to definitely get him on again and talk about some more stuff, some different stuff this time. And so look forward to that in the future as well, down the road. Possibly getting, you know, maybe get them to perform live, or maybe we go up to his studio and they perform with us there or something. We might start going out remote. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. You know, you might see us from different locations. Who knows?
Yeah, I probably won't have the big fancy, you know, box that you're.
No,
let's pretend like we're in the box.
A little different, and it might not be completely live. Although,
yeah, we're gonna have to do some stuff where we tape delay it.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, watch. We've been doing this for a year now. We've learned a lot. We're adding more functionality to the show. We're adding more the pictures, video. We still have the Zoom, all that kind of stuff. So watch us evolve. We're gonna keep evolving and getting better. We hope.
Yeah, please, you know, continue to spread the word. Check out the Facebooks. Check out Instagram. Check out TikTok. I don't like to pretend that I'm 12, but TikTok's important.
Definitely.
It is a free resource that absolutely does its job. Yeah, so spread the word. Let us know if there's stuff that's not working. Let us know if there's stuff that you want to see.
Yeah, definitely. Leave us comments. Shoot us messages.
Gunslinger.
Yeah, whatever's clever. And once Gunslinger, maybe, you know, once we have our reunion show, maybe we'll have a live video of it that we can then air here on this show afterwards or something. I don't know. Possibilities. They're endless.
Absolutely.
We'll see what happens, but thank you for joining us tonight for sure. Looks like we're kind of all
we're
tapped
good.
out on the comments for the evening, for the moment anyway. But don't forget, continue leaving comments, send us messages, whatever. If you have something that you want to talk about or want us to talk about, shoot us a message. If you're a musician and you want to be on the show with us, let us know.
Yeah.
Check out the socials for all the contact, right?
That's it.
And we should be good to go.
And we will see you in 2 weeks with Paul Kobylinski.
Yes, sir.
On February 21st.
All right.
Until then,
fret less.
Rock more. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.